Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to episode number 8 of Truly Me. Hope you guys are enjoying these podcasts lately. Episode 7 was a little crazy. It's something fun that I'm going to be doing with my friends once a week. It's going to be me, Kins, and Cass, and we're going to be doing some challenges, just fun stuff to keep you guys entertained during the week. So look forward to that. We're going to be doing those on the weekends. We have another fun one coming for you guys this Sunday, which I'm really excited about. So if you guys have any ideas of anything cool that you want to see us do as like all 3 of us together, challenges, anything funny, drop a comment down below. Let us know. They are 2 of my really good friends, and we have a lot of fun together. So I figured we might as well film it for you guys, just to keep you guys entertained during all this stuff that's going on. Speaking of that, I know that some places are now opening up and people are going back to work, which I'm so excited about. If that is you, so happy for you guys. If it's not you, you guys, just hang in there. You will be next very, very soon. So happy lashing, you guys. Hope that everyone is having, just positive energy and positive thoughts towards what's going on in the world right now. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about me, okay? This is going to be like all about me, who I am, from the top to the bottom, or the bottom to the top, I should say. How I became what I am today, struggles that I've endured, and kind of just like a cap of like where I started from and where I got to. And then we'll jump into like other things later on that have to do with like where I got to after that point. But let me just start off by explaining who I am. I've never really talked about this. Everybody just kind of knows me as a lash artist, but no one really knows like where I came from or how I grew up, my childhood, or just kind of like the ins and outs of everything. So I'm going to talk about that because I think that some people could relate to it. And if I can encourage anybody or speak to anybody directly, that's important to me. So I was born and raised in Hemet, California. No, most people probably don't know where that is. It's in the IE. It is in between like Temecula. It's like more inland. So if you know where the Temecula area is, it's more inland than that. Grew up there. I have 6 siblings. I actually have 7 now, but growing up there was 5 of us originally, and then later on as growing up there were more, but there was 5 of us. My mom and my dad had 5 kids together. I'm the second oldest, and I have 4 sisters, 1 brother. And we all are really close. Like we grew up very, very close. My parents had us all back to back. So it was a crazy childhood growing up. There was a lot of fights, a lot of screaming and yelling, but it was fun. So as I grew up, my parents were divorced. I went through that kind of like broken home system kind of thing. A lot of drama. And as I got older, I wanted to get out of the house like right away. Like I did not want to live there any longer than I already had to. So as soon as I turned 17, I moved in with a boyfriend of mine, and I lived with him for a little bit, and then I eventually moved to Orange County. And I lived with my dad in Orange County. And that's kind of when like my life, I think, really began. Like I started to experiment. I started to like work. I was working a lot. My senior year of high school, I did like a home study thing. So I wasn't actually going to school, but I finished school, but I just didn't go. So since I wasn't going to actual school, I was working instead. So I worked like 2 jobs. I was always like a worker. I never didn't have a job. That was something that I'd always liked to do. So I worked a lot. Stacked my money. I was never given anything. So I worked for absolutely everything I had. My first car, I think my first car was like $500, and it was like a stick. And I think it was like a 1980 like truck. Like it was scary. Okay. And I drove this thing for as long as I could. I saved up enough money, and then I bought a new car. And that car still was kind of a piece of shit, but it was better than what I had. So I always had a mentality of like, I want more in life. Like I never truly, I never settled, and I always knew like there has to be more to life than what I was used to. I didn't grow up like my parents, my dad is a firefighter, my mom's a nurse. So I didn't grow up in like I didn't grow up in a poor home. We had things, but they had 5 kids. So, we shared like bunk beds and clothes and like, so like what I saw growing up, I knew that wasn't what I wanted for my family. So I worked really hard. Um, and one thing I always knew in the back of my head was like, I don't want to ever, I hated working for people, but I knew that there was like levels to it. Obviously, you can't just jump out and be your own boss like that. But so I went through the motions. I bartended, I served, and I loved it. Out here in Orange County, I made a lot of money bartending and serving. If anybody's in the restaurant business, you know that there's a lot of money to be made. You can actually be really successful in that kind of environment, business. So and it was a good thing for me too, because I was like a total night owl and I couldn't ever like sit at a desk all day long and do shit. I had to like be going. So being a bartender and being in the service industry, you got to meet a lot of people. You got to talk to a lot of people. So I loved that. That was like my personality. I loved to be around that. So serving was cool for me. I really actually enjoyed serving. So from 18, no, from like 17, I think 17 is when I got like my first job. 17 till about 18. And then when I turned 19, I got pregnant. I had moved in with my daughter's dad, and we lived together. We had a baby. We were engaged. And so me and him obviously went our separate ways. So when my daughter was born, I actually moved to Georgia. I moved to Georgia, me and her, and my mom lives in Georgia. So I went out there to be with them. And it was a huge shock, like cultural change for me, but it was good for me. Like I truly needed to get out of what I was doing and go be with family. So I moved to Georgia. I lived there until my daughter was about 2, almost 2. And then I moved back to Cali. And when I was in Georgia, that's when I learned, I was actually still serving and bartending at that time in Georgia. And then when I moved back here, is when I I learned lashing in Georgia, and I did that in Georgia for about 6 months. And then I was like, I'm going back to Cali. I love Cali. Like I wanted to really, I always wanted to come back, but it was just a matter of timing. So it was a perfect timing. My lease was up at the place that I was living at in Georgia. And I was like, okay, I'm going back to Cali. I'm going to figure it out. My daughter's dad's in Cali, and I kind of just wanted to just be back and do my own thing. So came back to Cali, and I lived back in Temecula. My family was out there, and I lived there for about, I think 2 years. And during that time, like when I moved back, I obviously didn't work. And then that's when I started getting into lashing here in California again. I was building my clientele. I was focusing on that. And so it all, like, I feel like always in my life, like it moves really fast. Like, and now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like I did things like so impulsively. But what's crazy is to think that like you do things like that, and every step I feel like is like predestined. Like I think that every move we make was meant for us to make. And so sometimes when you're going through the motions of things like moving, like if you're going to make a scary move that you're like afraid to do and you don't know what's on the other side of that move, like I truly feel like God has always kind of guided me to where I'm supposed to go. Even if I don't know like how it's going to go down or exactly the way it's going to play out, I think that it for sure happens the way it's always supposed to happen. So if you are in that position, or if let's just say, you are considering quitting a job to do something else, or you're going to make a big move, but you're scared about it, or something significant is going to happen. I think it's important just to follow your heart. For me, making those moves like that, or quitting jobs, or moving across the country, those are big things that scare a lot of people. Um, but I always believe that it's predestined, and you go through life, and everything in life is a choice, and your choices lead to what is going to happen in your life. And I think that if it's strongly something that you believe in, then you should do it. And that can go for a lot of things in your life. But I think that if it's put on your heart, go for it. Don't be scared, you guys. Nothing good or nothing big comes from small decisions. So make those big decisions, take those chances, take a leap of faith, kind of just go with whatever is being put on your heart to do. So I moved back to Cali. I wasn't necessarily sure at first what I wanted to do. I was considering going back to bartending. But I always knew, and I've said this before a lot of times, that I never wanted to continue to work for someone. That is something that I've just always known in my heart. I wasn't into college. I wasn't into working a 9 to 5. That's why I really liked bartending and serving, because I wasn't like, oh, you have to be here from 9 to 5 and you sit in a desk or whatever. Like, it wasn't like a clothing store environment. Like, serving is actually fun. You get to talk to people, you get to meet people. Like, it's not like a normal job to me. So that's why I really like that. So I always knew in the back of my head I didn't want to do that. And I knew that I knew how to lash. So I was like, all right, I got my daughter. Like, I never wanted her to have to go to a daycare or anything like that. Plus, she had always really been used to being with me and just me. So I wanted to keep that normal for her. Growing up, was crazy with my parents' divorce and stuff like that. So I learned things from that experience that I didn't want to ever put my kid through. So I took those experiences and I applied them to my life here and to my daughter's life and how to make it better. So I think through life, we go through things that either make us or break us. And we have a choice to either take that experience and let it change us for the better or for the worse. I'm always the type of person to try to make the best out of every situation that there is. I think there's a lesson in every situation. And so I took the things that I went through, the struggles that I went through, and I applied them for the better. And I think that has something to do with being successful. I think that, you have to truly have a mindset of positivity. It sounds cliche, but it's actually really true. You manifest so much in your life. So to sit there and manifest negative things, or the why me or poor me, things like that attitude, are not going to get us anywhere. So it's really important, you guys, to if you want to be successful in whatever you're doing, whether it's your marriage, your kids' life, your work life, anything, you guys have to be super positive, and you guys have to manifest whatever it is that you want in your life. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to have bad things happen or bad experiences. It's just about how you're going to handle those experiences and how you're going to apply them or deal with them. And that can be easier said than done, but it's something that you want to work on consistently. Let's manifest good things into our life. And what you put out comes back also. So, obviously we want to just do the best we can at all times. I fully lost track of where I was in my story, but, I came back here. I decided, what am I going to do now? I'm at this point 22, and I have a 2-year-old. Yeah, 2-year-old, and I want to have my own stuff, right? That's what we want. We want our own house. We don't want to depend on anybody. We want to make our own money. So that's where I was in my life at that point. Like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I don't want to depend on a guy. I don't want to do any of that. I want to have my own shit. I want to support my kid, things like that. So then lashing, it was like, boom, okay, God told me you're going to lash. That's what you're going to do. So I started lashing, and it was a struggle. You have to build from nothing, and that can be scary. But to me, I was like, okay, well, I already have nothing. So what do I have to lose at this point? Now it's just let's build, let's build, let's build. So that's what I did. And I built Lashes by Kins, and I was just lashing at the time. It wasn't the product line at all. And during that time, I had my own personal struggles. I was dealing with a lot of like mental health. And I'm going to do a whole podcast on mental health. So if you guys want to hear me talk about mental health, the struggles that I went through with mental health, drop a comment down below, give the video a like. I have like a huge story to tell on my mental health, and how, and what happened to me, how I got through it, and now how I deal with it. Because I think once you go through something that's super traumatic, or just like anxiety, things like that, it's something that's always going to linger, but it's like, how do you adjust to the new normal, right? Like how am I going to deal with this on a regular basis without going completely insane? So, I went through some shit. I lashed for, I think, a year, and then I built the business side of it, my product line. And during that time of my life, it was the hardest time of my life. And I'm going to do a whole podcast on it, because I think a lot of people can relate to mental health. And if I can tell my story and if it can help somebody, then that's what I'm here to do. So, I don't feel like in my life I went through like crazy traumatic things, but there's definitely like significant things that have happened to me that affected me. And it could be big or small to somebody else, and it could affect them differently. So we'll talk about that, you guys. I'm excited about that podcast. We're going to do that soon. I built the business, even though it was the hardest thing I've ever done and I wanted to quit a million times. Keep going, right? So I kept going, and the business took off obviously in a year a lot quicker than I thought it was. So during that whole year, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, it was like a full blur. Like I don't even remember like little things in that time. Like all I remember is business, building the business, staying up really late at night, things like that. So little things during that year, like my daughter's birthdays, or just like family things, like I don't even remember. It was so hectic during that whole time of my life. And so to be on the other side of it, where now, the business is stable, things like that. And now I can reflect and I can really enjoy my life. I think you get to a point where maybe I'm not necessarily comfortable, but I'm at a point in my life where like I can enjoy things and I'm not completely stressed out anymore. And I think that's where a lot of people want to be. So getting to this point, and the whole point of this is just to kind of explain like how I started, what my life was like. I didn't grow up in a perfect family. I didn't grow up with, like in high school, I was such a bad kid in high school. I would party, I would sneak out. Like I was like that kid. I wasn't like a straight A student. I wasn't following all the rules. Like I was a rule breaker. I pushed the limits. I was sneaky. Like I just definitely wasn't the ideal kid probably. But all that to say, like, it can't stop you. Like, don't put your life in someone else's hands, or don't like predestine yourself, you guys. You guys can be anything you want to be, and it's all a matter of your mindset and what you want to be and how much drive you have to be where you want to be. I think it's cool too, like my sisters, for instance, or even my brother, like we all had our own struggles and we all came out like good, but just like different. My little sister had a baby at 14 and she's now a cop and married and has like this perfect little life. And I think that, that's something huge. And I think it speaks volumes for people who go through bad experiences, but still can come out really, really well. And so it's crazy to hear other people's journeys of where they started and how they got to where they are. And I think it's really inspirational. So if you guys have, a crazy upbringing or something significant that's happened, drop a comment, you guys. Let us know, where you started and how you got to where you are today. I think it's really inspirational. And people on the internet, like, go and look for stuff like that to motivate them, to get them to stay positive. My faith is something that I really also fall onto. And that doesn't mean that everybody is like that, but there are things that you can do to help, change the way you think about things or just where you're going to go in life. So I encourage all of you guys to stay super positive. Work hard for what you want. I don't think anything's handed to us on a silver platter. And I think it's all about working and focusing on yourself and being selfish sometimes. And that's okay. I went through a huge selfish point in my life where I was just focused on me and my business and my kid, and nothing else mattered. And, you lose some people, you lose some things, but that's just life. And I'm okay with that. I'm totally cool with that. You got to get where you want to get. And during that, you're going to lose some things. And I think a lot of people are scared of that. That's called growth, right? When we grow, things fall off that are not supposed to grow with us, whether those are relationships, whether those are habits, jobs, whatever. You got to shed and you got to grow. And even though it can be scary, we don't know what's on the other side of that unless you do it. So follow your heart, do what's right, always try and be a good person, and that stuff will come back full circle for you guys. So that is me. That is Lashes by Kins. That is kind of my story on just how I grew up, where I'm from, and what I went through. And, I get a lot of messages about people asking, like, I'm a single mom. How did you do it? How did you get to where you are? It is possible. It's obviously you're going to have different struggles than someone who's single and doesn't have kids. Doesn't mean that you can't do what they're doing. It's just going to be a little bit more of a challenge, and it's all about doing it and getting it done and seeing yourself on the other side saying, okay, I did it. I got through it. My mom was a single mom with 5 kids, and she went through nursing school full time. She worked full time. And now she has a successful job. She has 5 kids that, are doing great. So whenever I go through something significantly difficult, I always think about her okay, how did she do it? She went to nursing school full time, worked full time, and had 5 kids all at the same time. If she could do that, I can do what I'm doing. I just have 1 kid. And so, I think that it's truly all about how you think about it. So anyways, that is my story. A little bit in depth about me. If there's anything else you guys want me to cover on myself, leave a comment down below. Let me know. I'll answer it for you guys. I really want to start getting a little bit more deep. I think a lot of my stuff has been business lashing, which I love and I'll continue to do, but maybe getting just a little bit more deep for you guys so you guys understand who I am. That's why I've started to bring my friends on the podcast. I'm going to be bringing a couple of my friends on the podcast. I have a friend, his name is Mike G, and he has an incredible story to tell. And I'm really excited to share with you guys. His story is touching, it's moving. And I think a lot of people can relate, maybe not to exactly what happened to him, but to his story. So I want to really inspire you guys a lot in this podcast. And then obviously we're going to be doing some fun things with my friends, doing challenges, things like that. But we have a lot of content coming. I hope you guys like it. Make sure you guys follow us on Insta also. And then the podcast is actually available on iTunes, Apple Podcast, and it's also available on Spotify. So you guys can download it there, listen to it while you lash, things like that. All that good stuff. I love you guys, and I'll be back for episode number 9. Love you.